If anything, it was the true musician. He said to me one time, you know, I'm not going to do rock and roll all my life. I wanted to become a classical guitar teacher. I wanted to get a degree in classical music.
What if one of rock's greatest tragedies wasn't an accident at all, but the final unsolved mystery of music history? Randy Rhoads, the guitar prodigy destined to change everything, died in a fiery crash that still leaves haunting questions. Was it reckless fun gone wrong, or something far darker?
Left wing struck the bus about approximately 6 feet up on the bus. Came through the tree. The plane came into the top part of the garage here.
The truth isn't just unsettling, it changes how we remember him forever. Are you ready to uncover what really happened? Then stay with me. From quiet prodigy to rock's brightest flame, Randy Rhoads was born in Santa Monica, California in 1956 and raised by his mother, Dolores, after his parents separated. She owned Musonia School of Music, and the building quickly became his second home. Unlike most kids who wanted to play outside, Randy buried himself in lessons and practice. He was quiet, reserved, and small for his age, yet his discipline stood out. That discipline became the foundation of everything he would later achieve. Randy practiced up to 10 hours a day by the time he was a teenager. Not only did he learn scales and copy songs, but he also mixed classical frameworks with hard rock riffs. He looked up to guitarists like Eddie Van Halen, but he also wanted to have his own style based on theory and skill. Because he was always trying to get better, he became a rare kind of artist who was good at both ability and discipline. There was a lot of feeling in every note he played. Around the middle of the 1970s, Randy and lead singer Kevin DuBrow started the band Quiet Riot. People loved the band right away in the clubs in Los Angeles. During Randy's time with the group, they didn't become hugely popular, but Randy's influence was hard to miss. His tone was different. He was fascinating on stage, and his riffs made small crowds go crazy. People in LA quickly learned that this young musician was different from everyone else in the scene. Randy's life changed when he tried out for Ozzy Osbourne in 1979. Ozzy had just been fired from Black Sabbath. Even though Ozzy wasn't expecting much, he was shocked when he heard Randy warm up. Randy had a precise mastery and a classical touch that he had never felt before. In the future, Ozzy said that he was a gift from God, and that ability doesn't come around very often. That audition was the start of a legendary relationship that changed rock music for good. Putting Ozzy and Randy together was a meeting of two very different people. Randy was organized, disciplined, and dedicated to his work, while Ozzy was wild, unreliable, and addicted to harmful substances. That difference kept things in balance and gave Ozzy's solo business direction when he needed it the most. Randy became the anchor who could take Ozzy's crazy ideas and turn them into hit songs. They made two songs together that are still important in heavy metal: Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. Even though Randy was having a lot of success, he had other goals in mind. Friends told me he had plans besides being a rock star. He planned to go to UCLA to study classical music and become a teacher. He hoped to write songs that would last longer than the heavy metal craze. There was more to this guitarist than just wanting to be famous. He was a serious artist, getting ready to leave the stage lights behind and play in the classroom and a concert hall. Being a rock star on the outside and a scholar on the inside made Randy stand out from his friends. Many musicians of his era were consumed by excess, but he spent his free time studying Bach, practicing scales, and refining new sounds. His bandmates often admitted he was more disciplined than anyone they knew. He carried himself like someone aware that life had more chapters waiting beyond the road and the stage. That awareness made his story even more haunting. By 1982, Randy was standing at a crossroads. His influence on Ozzy's music was undeniable, and his playing had inspired a new wave of guitarists. Yet his heart was already leaning toward a different path. He talked about leaving touring life behind after fulfilling his commitments. He wanted to build something lasting, something bigger than the chaos of the road. His second act was about to begin. Tragically, that act never came. On March 19, 1982, Randy's story was cut short at just 25 years old. His death froze his career at its peak, locking him forever into legend. The world never saw the composer, the teacher, or the man beyond the spotlight. Instead, we are left with the brilliance of a life interrupted. His rise remains one of rock's most powerful stories, not just because of what he gave, but because of what he never got to finish. In seconds, rock's brightest hope was gone, leaving behind fire, wreckage, and questions that still haunt the music world. A quick stop turns deadly. The morning of March 19, 1982, began like any other day on tour, with the band's bus rolling through Leesburg, Florida. Mechanical trouble forced the group to make an unscheduled stop at Flying Baron Estates, a private air park with a small airstrip. Parked nearby was a Beechcraft F-35 lane belonging to the property's owner. Tour bus driver Andrew Aycock, who also had flying experience, spotted it almost immediately. What happened next set in motion one of rock's darkest days. Instead of waiting for repairs on the bus, Aycock decided to take the plane without permission. He convinced tour manager Jake Duncan and keyboardist Don Airey to join him for a quick joyride. The three lifted off and circled the area, dipping dangerously low over the band's parked bus. Airey later admitted the stunts were reckless, but at the moment it felt like harmless fun. No one could have predicted the devastation about to follow. After the first flight, Aycock looked for new passengers. This time, guitarist Randy Rhoads and seamstress Rachel Youngblood agreed to board. Randy, who had a known fear of flying, only went along because he wanted aerial photos for his mother. Rachel, who suffered from a heart condition, hesitated but finally agreed after some encouragement. That choice placed both of them in the wrong place at the worst possible time. The second flight took off under clear skies, but Aycock's flying was unstable from the beginning. He began the same low dives over the parked bus, tilting the plane sharply side to side. Don Airey, standing below, snapped photos that captured the wild maneuvers and the frantic expressions in the cockpit. Witnesses described the plane as wobbling and dipping with no sense of control. Each pass felt riskier than the last. Things went wrong on one dive. The plane's wing hit the top of the tour bus, ripping off a piece of the wing and spinning the plane around. It didn't have time to slow down, so it crashed into a nearby building and exploded right away. The fire burned through the rubble, leaving nothing that could be recognized. It was a flash of smoke and bent metal that killed Randy, Rachel, and Aycock as they hit the ground. From the ground, it looked like a war. Survivors said the fallout was beyond words of chaos. As the gun went off, flames shot up. Black smoke covered the land, and pieces of metal flew everywhere. People in the band ran outside in shock when they realized they were almost wiped out. There were scars on the bus from the accident, which was a scary reflection of how close they were to dying. The dream of a growing star was quickly replaced by silence and doubt. The official story of what happened was that it was just careless flying that went horribly wrong. Still, not all the pieces fit together. Randy was usually very careful, so he didn't see much reason to get on that plane unless it was for a personal reason. Some people also wondered if Rachel should have flown at all, because her health was so bad. Even Don Airey's pictures showed signs of a fight going on inside the cabin, not just some fun tricks. What really happened in the cockpit? The stated reason for the crash was very clear. The NTSB investigators found that Andrew Aycock was flying recklessly, while high on harmful substances and without a proper medical certificate. People said that his low sweeps over the bus were risky tricks that didn't work out. The fact that he had harmful substances in his body made this view even stronger. At first glance, it looked like a careless man lost control and killed two innocent people. Yet, not everyone accepted that conclusion. Keyboardist Don Airey had been on the ground watching through a telephoto lens, and what he saw didn't match the official version. His photographs captured the plane wobbling, dipping, and behaving as though someone inside was fighting for control. To his eyes, this wasn't smooth flying that suddenly ended in disaster. It looked like chaos had already taken hold inside the cockpit long before the final impact. Another explanation later emerged from Bob Daisley, Ozzy's former bassist. He believed Rachel Youngblood's health condition could have triggered the crash. Rachel had long suffered from a heart problem, and according to Daisley, the autopsy showed she suffered a fatal heart attack before the impact. If she slumped forward onto the controls, even unintentionally, her weight could have forced the plane into a dive. In an aircraft with dual controls, one sudden movement could have been catastrophic. This theory makes the tragedy even heavier. Rachel had reportedly been hesitant to fly that morning, warning that she didn't feel well. Aycock promised her it would be a calm loop with no dangerous tricks, but her body may have betrayed her at the worst possible moment. In that tight cockpit, even seconds of lost control could have doomed everyone. The Beechcraft Bonanza was already notorious for being unstable in a spin. If her collapse triggered the dive, there may have been no way out. But questions still remain about the pilot himself. Aycock's history cast a long shadow over the crash. 6 years earlier, he had been involved in another fatal aviation accident in the United Arab Emirates. His medical certificate had since expired, making him legally unfit to fly with passengers. The fact that he still took the controls that day shows a level of recklessness far deeper than the official report suggested. Toxicology reports made his judgment even more suspect. Investigators found evidence of harmful substances in his system, aligning with accounts that he had been partying the night before. Eyewitnesses also remembered his erratic behavior in the hours leading up to the flight. Some even whispered about a chilling motive, that his ex-wife was present on the bus, and the stunts were meant as some kind of display for her. If true, the low dives weren't random. They may have been fueled by anger, ego, or something darker. The more the pieces are examined, the less likely it seems that a single explanation fits. Each theory holds fragments of truth, but none tells the whole story. Perhaps Aycock's impairment made his flying unstable from the start. Perhaps Rachel's sudden collapse added chaos in the cockpit at the worst possible moment. And perhaps Randy, who never wanted to be on that plane, was caught in a disaster built on layers of bad choices and chance. One detail that rarely gets mentioned could add another layer. Randy was disciplined and cautious, someone who valued life and responsibility. If the cockpit was as chaotic as Airey described, it's possible Randy tried to intervene, even if only for seconds. He may have grabbed the yoke or tried to steady the aircraft. That image, Randy fighting for control in his final moments, adds a haunting possibility to a story already filled with unanswered questions. Rudy Sarzo turned down a plane ride that morning, a decision that saved his life but cursed his soul forever. The choice that haunted. Rudy Sarzo. Rudy Sarzo, bassist for Ozzy Osbourne's band and one of Randy Rhoads' closest friends, carried a burden no one else could understand. On that fatal morning, he had been invited to join the second flight. For reasons he never fully explained, he declined. Minutes later, the plane exploded, killing Randy, Rachel Youngblood, and Andrew Aycock. That decision became the line between life and death, and Rudy never stopped questioning it. When the explosion woke him, he ran outside and was confronted by fire, smoke, and devastation. He quickly realized the sound was not mechanical trouble with the bus, but the end of his best friend's life. Survivor's guilt hit immediately, and it never left. He often said he felt both spared and cursed, as though fate had chosen him to live, but condemned him to carry the memory. For Rudy, survival was never simple relief. It was a lifelong wait. Over time, his grief turned into a conviction about Randy's final moments. He believed that the crash was not random chaos, but a controlled attempt to save lives. According to Sarzo, the angle of the impact showed Randy may have grabbed the controls at the last second. By steering the plane even slightly away from the tour bus, he may have stopped the crash from wiping out the entire band. It was a theory born from both logic and love, and Rudy stood by it. The evidence for this belief lies in the crash itself. The plane clipped the roof of the bus, but did not plow directly into it. Just a few feet lower, the bus would have been destroyed, with everyone inside. The fact that the bus was damaged but not obliterated suggested to Sarzo that someone inside the cockpit fought to change its course. For him, that someone could only have been Randy. Rudy spoke of this with certainty, saying Randy sacrificed himself in those final seconds. He called it a conscious act, even if instinctive, to protect the lives of his friends. This idea gave him a way to cope with the pain, but it also reshaped how the tragedy was remembered. The story was no longer just about reckless flying or tragic chance. It became about a guitarist who may have died saving the very people he loved. The emotional weight of that possibility lingers in every retelling. Survivors like Sarzo not only lost a friend, but gained a lifelong reminder of how fragile fate can be. Every concert, every note he played after, carried the shadow of what could have been lost entirely. Instead of being remembered as three passengers in a crash, the story became a tale of near sacrifice, of a final act that may have spared dozens. In that way, Rudy's guilt carried both pain and pride. Randy Rhoads' death left not only grief, but mysteries that point to hidden truths, and a sacrifice few dare to question. Did Randy save the band? Randy Rhoads was never meant to grow old inside the chaos of heavy metal. Away from the stage, he was already planning a future that looked nothing like the life of a touring rock star. He wanted to go to UCLA to study classical music and become a teacher and songwriter. His love for the guitar wasn't about getting famous. It was about learning, improving, and making music with other people. A quiet genius could have led a new age of music after he died, ending not only a career, but also a way of life. For Ozzy Osbourne, losing Randy nearly ended his journey too. Ozzy often said Randy was the one who kept him alive musically when no one believed in his solo career. After the crash, Ozzy fell into despair, even thinking about walking away from music forever. The bond between them wasn't just about riffs and show, it was survival. Randy had saved Ozzy once with his talent, and some believe he may have saved him again in his final moments. Randy's influence never faded, even though his time was short. Guitarists like Zakk Wylde, Dimebag Darrell, and Tom Morello often point to him as the unreachable standard, Others still find it hard to match the way he mixed speed, accuracy, and feeling in his style. His music is important to his fans because it shows what he was and what he could have been. In this way, his legend is based on both chance and truth. Yet the questions about his death never fully went away. Why did the bus driver, Andrew Aycock, even have access to a plane when his record showed a reckless past? Why was Rachel Youngblood, who had a known medical condition, allowed to fly that day? And why did Randy, who had a deep fear of flying, step onto the plane at all? The official NTSB report closed the case as pilot error, but many feel that the deeper truth was smoothed over too quickly. The pieces never added up neatly, and the gaps still leave room for doubt. The crash wasn't only about a single mistake. It was a chain reaction: poor judgment, unchecked risk, hidden health struggles, and pure bad timing. Some survivors believe Randy may have fought for control in those last seconds, pulling the plane just high enough to avoid wiping out the entire band asleep in the bus below. The evidence fits. The plane clipped the roof but missed a direct hit by only a few feet. If true, Randy's last act wasn't a guitar solo, but a final sacrifice. His story might end not in chaos, but in quiet heroism written across the Florida skies. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video popping up on your screen for more amazing content.